Good morning, YouTubers. It's Ben here from Southeast Queensland Storms, here with your Southeast Queensland weather update for this wet and miserable Tuesday, the 26th of March 2024. And your weather update starts now. Good morning, Southeast Queenslanders. Welcome to your weather update for this wet and miserable Tuesday, 26th of March 2024. Hope you are well wherever you are in this part of this great state, Queensland, on this wet and miserable Tuesday. Let's jump into your weather update for today. And as you can see on current satellite and radar imagery, very cloudy and wet conditions across the Southeast Queensland region today. And the bad news is the rain is expected to hang around with us for the next 2 days or so. And I'll have all those details for you very, very shortly. But on current radar, what we can see is the weak surface trough currently lingering near the southeast Queensland coast, triggering an enhancement in rainfall as that trough is expected to move towards the southeast Queensland coast through the remainder of today. So the trough in operation just off the coast, and it will continue to track towards our coastline as we move in today. As we move through the remainder of today. We're also seeing on current radar light patchy rain starting to move in from the west through the Darling Downs Granite Belt, and we're also seeing some slightly heavier rainfall, light to moderate rainfall moving in from the northeast as well. But cloud pretty much blanketing all of the southeast Queensland region today. And those areas of light to moderate rainfall are around, and we should see an increase in rainfall as we move through later today and into tomorrow. Reasons why, I'll explain to you very, very shortly. Let's take a look at 24-hour rainfall totals for areas between Maryborough and the Gold Coast, and the good news is pretty much all of southeast Queensland has seen some form of rainfall over the last 24 hours. Obviously, some areas seeing more rain than others. And if we take a look at the highest totals over the last 24 hours up until 9 a.m. this morning, Moreton Island coming in with 51 millimetres of rain in the past 24 hours, and then up around the Maroochydore Sunshine Coast area. We had Pelican Waters with 52 millimetres, Sugarbag Road had the highest total there at 62 millimetres, Meridian Way at 55 millimetres, and Pereira Weir with 54 millimetres. So a good sprinkling of rain between 50 to just over 60 millimetres just near Maroochydore there along the coastline. Also, good rainfall totals recorded between Sunshine Coast, Noosa, and further west out to Kingaroy. All those light green dots indicate rainfall between 25 to 49 millimetres. Similar story around the Brisbane CBD, the Brisbane metropolitan area, and areas to the south and a couple of areas to the north of Brisbane, where again rainfall in the 25 to 49 millimetre mark are represented in those light green dots. Bribie Island coming in there with 44 millimetres in the past 24 hours, Bribie Island to the north of Brisbane. In the dark blue dots, that indicates rainfall of 10 to 24 millimetres, but as I said, good to see pretty much all areas across southeast Queensland picking up some form of rainfall. But as you can see, the majority of the heavier falls is mostly confined to the coastal areas of southeast Queensland. Taking a look at your current temperatures, firstly starting with our residents up in the Wide Bay Burnett district, we have temperatures currently in the low to mid-20s up there in the Wide Bay Burnett. Starting with Bundaberg, it seems to be the warmest place around at the moment with 26 degrees, 25 degrees at Hervey Bay, 24 degrees at Maryborough. It's also 24 degrees out there at Gayndah, 23 degrees at Tin Can Bay. It's also 24 degrees at Gympie, and a little bit cooler at Kingaroy with 20 degrees. For our residents in the Southeast Coast District, temperatures currently in the high teens to low 20s, starting up in the Sunshine Coast where we've got 22 degrees at Tewantin and Maroochydore respectively. It's 22 degrees also at Woodford, 23 degrees at Caboolture. Over to Moreton Island, it's also on 23 degrees, Deception Bay at 22. As we head into the Brisbane CBD, currently sitting on 22 degrees. It's 22 degrees over at Victoria Point on Brisbane's Bayside. Ipswich, 21 degrees, also same story out there at Laidley. And then as we go further south down towards the Gold Coast, we've got Surfers Paradise on 22 degrees. It's 19 degrees at Oxenford, and also 22 degrees out there at Boonah. And lastly, for our residents out on the Darling Downs Granite Belt District, cooler at Stanthorpe with 18 degrees, 20 degrees at Warwick, it's 21 degrees both at Inglewood and Goondiwindi, 18 to 20 degrees at Toowoomba, it's 20 degrees at Oakey, 21 degrees at Dalby, and 20 degrees at Chinchilla, and 21 degrees at Miles. But as you can see, plenty of cloud cover and rain across southeast Queensland today. Obviously, the cloud cover will keep our daytime maximum temperatures down as well. Anywhere north of Rockhampton is where the warmer weather is, with temperatures in the low 30s anywhere to the north of Rockhampton. However, for southeast Queensland, we're seeing temperatures all in the low to mid 20s across today. So cooler temperatures outside, which is a nice welcome reprieve from the hot, humid and muggy conditions we've experienced over the last couple of weeks. Taking a look at your official forecast information from the Bureau of Meteorology, firstly for our residents on the Darling Downs Granite Belt, your official forecast for today sees cloudy conditions with a high chance of rain, with that rain easing back as we move into tonight. You've got east to southeasterly winds becoming lighter in the day, but should see winds around the 15 to 20k mark, and your daytime maximum temperatures in the low to mid 20s. In the southeast coast district, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out the forecast for that district today. It's cloudy with a very high chance of rain, and our daytime maximum temperatures in the low to mid 20s, and it's the same story for our residents up in the Wide Bay and Burnett districts. Cloudy conditions with a very high chance of rain, and again daytime maximum temperatures in the low to mid 20s. Alrighty, let's jump over to some forecast model information and take a look at what some of the data is coming out of our forecast models. But before I do that, just please be reminded that the following forecast information I give you now is reflective of an amateur storm chaser only, and not that of a professional or qualified meteorologist. Alrighty, so the first chart that you see on your screen is our precipitable water anomaly chart, and we use this chart to assess or have a look at how much atmospheric moisture content is around for particular weather systems to access. And what we can see over southeast Queensland today is that we have plenty of moisture on offer in the atmosphere, which means higher chances of rainfall. So plenty of moisture content around for that surface trough to access today, and again those above average moisture levels in the greens and the blues indicate higher levels of moisture, and again higher chances of increase in rainfall. So plenty of moisture around today across southeast Queensland. And if we jump over to the AIFS or the AIFS, this is an AI model currently available on Met Centre, and what we're looking at here is that surface trough in operation near the southeast Queensland coast. Now, as I said, what we're looking at is that weak surface trough is moving towards our coastline during today, triggering showers and areas of light to moderate rainfall. The heaviest rainfall from today appears to be through the Sunshine Coast, down through those coastal areas towards the south, towards the Gold Coast, as we move into this afternoon. So these areas of green, light green and yellow obviously indicate where the heavier rainfall is. If we jump this chart out to 4 o'clock this afternoon, again we can see those areas of moderate rainfall continuing from Gympie all the way down to the Gold Coast, through the Sunshine Coast, through Brisbane, and slightly through areas further inland towards Brisbane's west as well. But the good news is that heavier rainfall appears to remain offshore, and as we get into 10 o'clock tonight, we can see those areas of rainfall persisting from the Sunshine Coast down through Brisbane, Brisbane's Bayside, all the way to the Gold Coast, but again heavier rainfall remaining offshore, which is some good news. Now, as we move into tomorrow, we'll jump out till 10 o'clock tomorrow, Wednesday the 27th of March, and what we should see tomorrow is the rainfall begin to shift slightly towards the north and starting to impact areas from Brisbane all the way northwards up towards Gympie, as well as some areas slightly inland. So we can see those areas of the heavier rainfall again now starting to contract towards the north, some heavier rainfall remaining offshore in those yellow shaded areas, but still between Gympie down to Brisbane, areas of light to moderate rainfall as we move through into tomorrow. And if we jump out to 10 o'clock on Thursday, what we should see on Thursday is the rain ease back to isolated light showers, but the heavier of the rainfall continues to push towards the north, towards Maryborough and beyond. And then by Good Friday, the surface trough pushes back towards Western Queensland, and then we should see in its wake, as we move into Friday, a south to southeasterly flow start to make its way into our region as well. And due to that southeasterly flow, that southerly southeasterly flow, we could see an isolated shower or two possible across our Easter weekend and Easter Monday, into our Easter Monday. But the good news is that the heavier of the rainfall is gone by the weekend, just an isolated shower or two in its wake due to that southeasterly southerly flow. And if we take a look at some rainfall totals for today, this is the Access model, which is used by the Bureau of Meteorology. Good news is that the models are keeping the heavier of the rainfall offshore, but we are still seeing moderate rainfall in coastal areas all the way from the Sunshine Coast down through Brisbane, Brisbane's Bayside and down to the Gold Coast. The Bureau indicating possibly some heavy falls across the Gold Coast hinterland by the end of the day, possibly up to 100 millimetres there. But again, these rainfall totals aren't 100% accurate. They're just a guide only in relation to areas where rainfall could be seen and roughly how much, but again, they're not 100% accurate. The UK Met model, again, good consistency with the Access model, keeping the heaviest rain offshore, but again, moderate rainfall all the way from the Sunshine Coast down to the Gold Coast, and some moderate rainfall in areas slightly further to the west through Caboolture-esque and Amberley as well, where rainfall up to 15, 25, 30 millimetres could be seen. Possibly some isolated heavier falls in around Moreton Bay, where again rainfall up to 70, 90 millimetres could be seen by the end of today. And lastly, on the Euro model, again, good model agreement, the heaviest of the rainfall remaining offshore, but again, moderate rainfall totals all falling within the coastal areas where rainfall between 50 to 80 millimetres could be seen, and again, some slightly less falls of 15 to 20, 30 millimetres, again in areas inland towards Caboolture-esque, Amberley, Beaudesert, Rathdowney, that way as well. And lastly, if we take a look at areas where we could see a chance of rainfall of 100 millimetres or more over the next 48 hours, this chart goes from now out until 11 o'clock this Thursday, and as we can see, good model agreement that the heaviest of the rain remains offshore, where the highest chances of 100 millimetres or more of rain remains offshore, whereas closer along the coast we see those areas in yellow indicate a 20 to 30% chance of those areas seeing rainfall of 100 millimetres or more over the next 48 to 72 hours. So basically, cloudy wet conditions across southeast Queensland today into tomorrow and Thursday. If you are driving on the roads, please drive to the conditions, drive safe, take care, and I will have another weather update for you tomorrow morning. In the meantime, as always, remain weather aware and weather prepared. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.